just like I mean, it's all, I know you're like, duh, that's what I've been fucking saying. You're just repeating what I'm saying, Elizabeth. Yeah. But I don't know why it just clicked for me. But that example with Oprah, like for some reason, it just like totally clarified it was.
Welcome everyone to the Authentic as Fuck podcast. This is episode 8 and Elizabeth is back.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
How's your day off?
Is that a joke? Good one. I'd love to have one of those again someday.
One day.
I feel like it's going to be a few years.
18 years when Wolfie goes off to college.
But I doubt that we'll be able to cut the cord that easily. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. It's pretty dreary in Nashville today. So really? I'm usually able to like take advantage of the natural light and come in here, but it's like raining.
It looks pretty great.
Gross. Yeah. I'm lucky that like there's a ton of light that comes in anyway, but it's super dreary and gross. I hate this time of year. Most people love the fall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I hate it.
It's my favorite season of the year.
That's what everyone says. They're like, I love fall. And for me, like I think because winter is so depressing for me, I go into this weird funk in the winter when the time changes and there's no greenery around. And I get like super, like that seasonal depression. Yeah. Well, Michael would not, he doesn't want to go back there. I totally would. To Northern California, but like,
why he doesn't like California? Bad memories.
I think Los Angeles did him in.
I love California.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't live in California right now, just because it's so expensive and like, that state is like, ran like how they run that state is like a joke, but I every time I go back there, it's like it's where I grew up, right? So I feel a sense of like nostalgia and like it feels good, and my family is there, but all of Jesus' family is here, so it's hard to leave New York. Now,
is all of her like close family? Like all, mom, dad. Yeah. I know her sister's there. Okay.
Her sisters, her aunt, her nephews.
Yeah.
All here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have some family in California, but they're not like my cousins, my uncle, and my aunt, grandmother's there. But my parents live in Korea, so it's not as direct,
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that they were. So they moved here and then they moved back?
Yeah, they moved back. They didn't like it here.
What I've heard from about your mom, like I could see that she wanted to go back.
It was actually my dad. My dad hated it here.
Really?
I think my mom actually kind of liked it here. But
what does he do?
My dad was he worked in pathology. He worked in the hospital in Korea, and here he was an acupuncturist.
Oh.
And now he works like in also in kind of health, like he works for my uncle, and he sells like these things kind of like made out of grape, but it's like supposed to be good for your health.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sees like patients and he kind of like diagnoses them and stuff like that. For that,
that's really cool. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Neat. I've always wanted to try acupuncture, but I'm scared of needles. But everyone that I know that does it, like,
it works.
Loves it. So I'm assuming you've done it.
I've done it once. Like my dad, but every time he tried to like do it on me, I'm like, no, get away. Because I'm scared of needles too.
Yeah.
So, but it works. Cool. Like, because I see patients come in, they get into car accident. Like they get rear-ended and then they have like back problems that come in. My dad will fix them.
Yeah, I'd like to do that, especially like on my shoulder. Like so maybe I should try it. If your dad ever comes back, ask him to stop in Nashville, because I would trust your dad. Or I can head over to Korea at some point once Wolfie is old enough and doesn't need me as much. So what's up? What are we talking about today?
What should we talk about? I want to talk about kind of like people comparing themselves to others, both in personal brand in general.
Yeah.
Right. Because I find that to be like a common kind of thread that I constantly have to like remind people, even like my big clients, right? But also myself. So I kind of want to talk about that, because I don't think it's just people that are starting out or people that are like comparing themselves to like, look at the Kardashians or like whatever, or like, look at so-and-so, my friend who's doing well in his career and I'm not there yet. That's one kind of comparing. But, comparing to other people comes in many shapes and forms, right? Because I still have clients that, are doing like extremely well, that will come to me with something that somebody else did and be like, oh, hey, check this out. Like, should we do something like this? Or should, let's go look at some of the other people and see how they do it. Or like, and to me, that's like, obviously that's not as bad, right? Because you're not comparing yourself in terms of like, oh, this person's way ahead of me or something like that. But it's still comparing, right? And everyone does it. I just had a meeting like a couple of weeks ago with somebody who was like, I just wanted to say, stop fucking looking at other people's shit, right? Like, because it's killing you, right? And and it can be as simple as like, how Michael always compares like the mass breed movement to like the 12-step program, like it's even that's and that has nothing to do with like how obviously mass 12-step program is complete. It's not even a business.
Yeah, right.
But it's still trying to compare it in a way that, it works for them. So how can we replicate it here, right? And even that's kind of comparing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to be inspired by something, because it's really hard to create in the world that we live in, and the amount of the way that humans have been able to improve over the years. Like, we're just seeing incremental improvements in things. There is like, it's one thing to be inspired by the 12-step program or by an email that someone sent you. It's another thing to try and replicate it and compare what you're doing to it, if that makes sense. And I think even when I think about when we were building the website, remember when we were like comparing our About Me page to everyone else's? Like, we were looking at Mel Robbins' page. I don't know if you remember. We were like, let's go see how Jay Shetty does it. How did you do it for Gabby? How did you do it for these people? Versus, well, how do we want to do it for us? And let's get inspired by what other people are doing versus comparing what we're doing to them.
So where do you draw the line? Where is the inspiration end and comparison begin? I want to grab some water. I'll be right back.
All right. So as you were off getting hydrated, I started thinking about your question. Where do we draw the line? And I had a thought, and why did I forget it? But basically, I'm going to take the example of the 12 steps and what we've done and where we found ourselves getting in trouble, and where Michael is finally starting to get some clarity. And because now we're actually starting to get traction. We're having complete strangers sign up for what we're doing, and they're sticking, and it's working. And I think so many times he and I have talked, and it's been as we've been developing the mask-free program, and every time that we've tried to do exactly the same thing that 12-step does, we find that it fails for one reason or another. We tried to replicate the meetings exactly. We tried to replicate sponsorship exactly. Like, and when we've tried to like do almost a carbon copy of it, it just never works.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think that in the, I don't know, this is just me kind of like thinking out loud, but I think it's because you can't replicate the whole thing completely and you're only replicating pieces. It falls
everything
apart.
Together that work. Yeah. There's a lot of like little nuances that makes it work. Yeah.
Yes. So like, that's why ours is working, is because now we have nuances to our system and what we're building and what Michael has been able to do with our team. But if you try to just pick out, like, let's say you get an incredible email from Amy Porterfield in her funnel and you try to replicate that one email, well, she's built an entire funnel around that email. There's an entire system that her team is analyzing and looking at, and that is just one piece. If you try to do one post on your social media that replicates what Gary Vee did, he's got a machine that's putting out content built around that piece. So it's one thing to look at what someone is doing as a whole, get inspired by it, find things you like, even find things you don't like, things that you don't want to do, and then build your own. Again, this is me thinking out loud, but I'm just looking back on stuff that we've done that's failed is when we try to replicate one piece.
I think you're definitely right. I couldn't quite like exactly figure out what exactly it was, but I think you're 100% right, because one of the like questions that I get repeatedly from people is like, hey, what font are you using? Or on my content, or like, oh, what do you use? How are you editing those videos? As if like the reason why my content is doing well is because of the font or because of how the video looks.
The fucking editor. Like, yeah.
And it literally has nothing to do with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
And so I think there's definitely something to that, where you don't know what to copy.
You don't know what to copy, and like there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it than the font. People don't like a post because of the font. You could use fucking Comic Sans. And if it's good content and it's your thing, like that's your fucking thing, is Comic Sans. Okay? So
I want to see a brand that like brand themselves with Comic Sans.
They should. Like, we should, like, this goes back. I still want to do the swag thing. This is a tangent, but I still want us to do the swag, and we should do it on all these like weird, like we have the one in cursive, like the cursive-y font that every like female personal brand uses. That's like the Comic Sans of female personal brands, and you got, everybody knows exactly which font I'm talking about. And then we do like the Comic Sans font. Like we do all these weird fonts. Font. Like that would be like all the like overused fonts in the personal brand world. That's what I want to use for our swag. Okay. Anyway.
I know all of them.
I know you do. I'm talking to the like master. But yeah, I think that's what it is. It's you can't, it's the pieces. Like you can't, just because you replicate the pieces doesn't mean that you're gonna. Yeah. It's like
1,000 different things that work together to make that brand work. And that's also why you shouldn't mimic anyone, like in terms of personal brand, right? Like I just got off of a live where we were talking about how when I watch, Christo, Christo. Yeah. Like when I watch Christo, like my favorite content from him is when he's like really calm. He's like, he's like this wise man who's like dropping knowledge, and like just talking like this. And then, but then once in a while, there are these videos where like, hey, everybody, like, like that. And it's so like, those are my least favorite videos of him. It's just, to me, it seems like he's trying to be someone else, right?
He's trying to be Christo, not be Christo. Trying to be Christo, not be
exactly.
Christo. Yeah. Because he's probably seen some video where someone was yelling at the camera and it got a bunch of likes and shares.
I mean, I don't think that's what he did, but I think he's just, it's kind of like what I was saying to Michael the other day, that sometimes in those meetings, I feel like you're trying too hard, right? You're trying too hard to play host. You're trying too hard to entertain everyone, to make sure everybody feels at home, whatever, right? And for me, all of these things, whether you go into a meeting or you're hosting a meeting or whatever it is, whenever you try too hard to do something, it never works, right? Like, it's really just if you want everyone to feel at home and everyone to feel comfortable in a meeting, then you just truly have to want that in your heart, and then that's it. You don't have to do anything. You just have to want everyone to feel at home, truly, without any bullshit like, oh, I just want people to feel like they're feeling like they're at home. Not like you actually genuinely want them to feel at home, okay? And then you don't have to do anything. You just... Well, I mean,
yeah. You just show up. You just show up and do your thing. Well, but that's so much easier said than done. But I think that's one reason why, and I still can't believe, people actually listen to us talk. Because
we just show downloads. I mean, all of our episodes, yeah.
Oh.
And we hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. Yay.
Sweet. Yay. Party. If we get 1,000, that'd be good. But you know what? I think the reason people, like, I've asked people that message me, why do you even listen to this? Like, why are you listening? Because I'm like genuinely curious. Like, why are you listening? And this is tied to what you're talking about, is that we don't come into this, I certainly don't, with any like audience that I'm trying to please, any kind of like intention around what I'm trying to get across. Like, I mean, not that I don't have intention, but like I care, but like I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to show up and talk to my friend. And
you just have to care. And then you don't have to try to care anymore.
You just have to care. Yeah, you shouldn't have to try. Like,
but I guess that's something that you can't, it's not a decision that you make, right? Let's say you're going into let's say you're your own business owner and you have 100 employees and you're going into a meeting where you're talking to them, right? You can go into that meeting and try to make it seem like you care, right? Which is not going to work. Or you can go into that meeting and do nothing, but actually genuinely care, right? But that's the thing. Actually genuinely caring, it's not a decision you make. Like, it's not a decision you make and okay, now I genuinely care. No, you either already genuinely care or you don't. If you don't genuinely care about your employees, you can't do anything to make yourself genuinely care about your employees. Do you understand what I mean?
But you know what? I think people, even some of the best people, I totally get what you're saying. There's something that gets in the way. There's a reason why, like, some of the best people who do genuinely care, right? And who do want to have a good message, like for example, Michael, he really cares. He wants to put out content, but it's a struggle for him, like you were saying, to just be himself and show up. So what is that getting, like, what happened? So I think there are a couple of things, like, what is happening to keep those people or us or anyone, to keep people from being able to just do and just show up and do your thing? And I think some of it's a lot of fear about what people think. And then this thing that you talked about earlier, the comparing yourself to
that's true,
everyone else. And then, okay, once you've recognized that it's that fear that's holding you back, because 99% of the time, fear is the thing that that everything is rooted in, particularly when it comes to being authentic.
I guess the vanity metrics is kind of like comparison too, right?
You're comparing.
It's like,
and that goes back to fear that no one's going to like you, fear that, and so if you can establish that, okay, my inauthenticity,
comparison and fear. Sorry, I'm always like a step behind. I don't know if comparison and fear is the same thing, because I think fear is like the fear of judgment, the fear of, someone not liking me or something like that. The comparison is more like, I guess it's fear of missing out, like that so-and-so is the same age as me and they're doing so much better than me, right? That's kind of what comparison is, right?
I don't think that they're the same. I think that fear drives comparison. Your fear is driving you to compare yourself to everyone else. And to what other people do.
One is fear of judgment and the other one is fear of missing out.
Yeah, I guess. I still think that, I don't think that there's fear for me, I don't think that, like when I compare myself to other people, that desire to compare is driven by my fear. So because I'm afraid of what other people think, if I'm going to miss out, if I'm doing the wrong thing, there's all this fear that's driving me to now compare. And so I kind of see them as, for me, I see them as separate things. But I know my comparison.
Comparing and fear.
Yeah, I think the fear, the social fear.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. So like we've been in the process of downsizing our home, and we live in a really cool house and a dream house, an amazing house, like this house that we've in some ways put our identity around, a house that when people walk into it, they're like, wow, so when we decided to go on this journey of downsizing and going to a more traditional house that most families live in, and Michael and I've talked about it, like we both have really struggled with what people are going to think about us. And so because of the fear of what people will think, like, oh,
that's fear of judgment, not fear of comparison. That's not comparing.
No, but I've got fear around what are people are going to think? So I guess I'm not saying that there's fear. So comparison to me is different than fear. I wouldn't say like, because I'm afraid of what people will think, I'm comparing my current house to the new house that we're getting. I'm comparing.
Oh, okay. No,
does that make sense?
I was thinking about talking more about like comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, I'm comparing the house that I'm getting to the house that other people are in. Other people that are.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Does that make because I have fear around what I'm doing? But I see what you're saying too.
Like if I'm comparing myself to like somebody, if I'm like, for example, let's say Michael compares himself to like somebody who sold 10 million copies of their books, right? And let's say that person is like 30 years old, like 10 years younger than him, right? Like that, then he might be like, oh, I'm looking at him and be like, what is he doing that I'm not doing? And then trying to compare.
Trying to do it.
Compare that, right? I don't know if what fear does that come out of? Because I think comparing yourself to others that are in your community, that are your circle of friends, because it's different when you're like downgrading versus when you're in your own journey, but you're just moving a lot slower than this other person that's like moving at rocket speed, and then you're comparing yourself to them. I think that's different than when you actually failed, or when you feel like you failed, and then that's why you're comparing. That's not really comparing. That's whether that person is there or not, you're still gonna feel that way.
So then what drives you to compare? What's driving the comparison?
I think that's the...
Because if we don't know what's driving the comparison, I don't think we can stop doing it. So that's where I brought up fear, is that once I was kind of making a twofold point, is that if fear, like if you can identify what's driving it, and for me, I think it's comparison, because it's fear of missing out, like you said. There's fear that's driving you to...
Yeah, I think it's the fear of missing out.
So the fear of missing out is driving you to compare yourself, because there's a driver. Then the second thing is, okay, now what do I do about that? You know, like, well, you have to be aware of it. So back to your example of like the CEO that goes in and he wants to talk to his employees and genuinely, but you have to genuinely care. You may genuinely care. You may even tell yourself, I do genuinely care, but I'm still trying to be someone else when I go talk to them for some reason. Like Michael's showing up to these meetings, he's still trying to be Michael Brody-Waite. He's not being Michael Brody-Waite.
Well, let's break those. Let's break those apart first, because I know what you mean, right? Well, because that's a little bit further away. That's not the perfect example, like trying to be like somebody else. But I think we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's break down something that's even more closer than that, right? Like, so for me, I know that I shouldn't compare myself to others in terms of like, what is the revenue that Night Owls is doing, or how many followers that I have compared to other people, right? Because there's always going to be people like freaking like the Kardashians that have 100 million followers, right?
Right.
So I have to look at myself and be like, I have to remind myself that not to compare, and then just focus on what I'm doing, creating content or doing what I love to do, like not thinking that. But once in a while, you get this thing, like I know that when I post something, certain things, I know that that's going to get me. I know that like right now I'm working on a post that hopefully if I finish today, I'll post today or else tomorrow, that I know that if I post that, like that post is going to probably get me over 1,000 followers, because I know that that's the kind of post it is, right? But at the same time, sometimes I know I'm posting something and I know this post is going to get me like 10 followers. Do you understand what I mean? And I know it, but I have to post it anyway, because that post is, number one, it's me. It's what I want to talk about. It's what I think people need to hear. But I still feel that FOMO, like, fuck, I'm going to post this and I'm losing out on 1,000 followers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So where does that come from, right? And it's comes from FOMO.
The fear. Yeah. So fear is driving you to do something or not do something.
Yeah.
But you're able to overcome it and you're doing the post anyway.
Yeah. It's still hard though.
It's still really hard, because you're putting in probably hours to making that post.
Yeah.
You're still putting in the same amount of effort.
Yeah. And the FOMO is this, right? If I just keep posting this kind of post every single day, let's say 10 days in a row, right? In that 10 days, I'm going to get 1,000. I'm going to get 10,000 followers at least, because I'm posting a post that's going to get me 1,000 followers each. But on the other hand, let's say I post 5 of these, and then 5 of those other posts that gives me like 10 followers, then I'm going to, in that same amount of time, I'm only going to get 5,000 followers, right?
Yeah. And you've put in 5 times the amount of effort.
Yeah. And I have to know
10
that.
times.
Yeah. And I have to be okay with that.
Yeah. So I think that's huge. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't.
But maybe that's also fear of judgment too. Because at the end of the day, why do I feel like I need to be at a certain number, right? It's because I feel like people are going to judge me that, oh, Son only has this many followers. versus this other person has so much more followers. Like, that's
Right.
kind of, maybe it'll also, that's how it relates to judgment.
So it's all fear. It's all coming from fear, man. All these decisions, I think, come from
It all
fear.
comes from fear of what other people think of me.
Yeah. And I think if you can't relate to not being afraid of what other people think at some point, like, because some people are like, oh, I don't give a F about what people think about me. Like, those are, Michael actually had someone who scored like an 80% on his authenticity test. And he was going in and doing like he's going in and doing a workshop. And he was like, man, I got somebody that scored 80%. He's like, those are always the people that are actually the most inauthentic. He's like, you want me to tell you if you know that if you're authentic or not? You've got a really low authenticity score on my assessment, because.
So the way we remember in the beginning, we coded it wrong so that it was the other way around. Maybe that's the right way to do it.
We had it coded backwards. Yeah. Like, yeah, exactly. But anyway, I don't know what my point was there, but like, talking about people who say they don't give an F, like those are the people that are the most inauthentic.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have to be able, though, do you have to be able to like identify that feeling? So you, like in your example, which was really, really good, you were able to like, that feeling, you're able to identify it. And then because you know what that feeling is, you're able to overcome it. And awareness is so much, I mean, I think we've talked about this before. Like, there's a car that I want to get. And so I used to never see them on the road, but now I see them everywhere. All the time. That's not because that's not because no, it's not big enough. I'm a mom, like in the South, I need a big SUV is what, we just got back from the Container Store and our poor kids were like sandwiched between like really large plastic containers.
Inside the container.
I know, right? But you should have seen it. So we're like playing Jenga in the back at the Container Store with the stroller and the car seats, and how are we going to fit this in? And anyway, so there's this SUV that I want, and so I see it everywhere, and I think we all can relate to like, a car or whatever it is. Like, it's funny how you start to have awareness around, you see more of it, or it's more prevalent in your life. It's not because there's more of it. It's just because you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And so that being aware of those moments, that feeling, it's probably tangible. Most of the time, like fear is so tangible, and you have visceral reactions to something. It's in the pit of your stomach. It's that feeling. Like if the
feeling is there, but you can't quite pinpoint it though. Like sometimes I feel frustrated.
You've been able to, that there's something there.
Yeah. You don't know where it's coming from. Like, that's why usually like how arguments start with people, right? Sometimes like, you ever have people like that starts argument with you for no reason, for the smallest things like that doesn't even matter, right? But then usually when you boil that down, there's something bigger. There's something bigger there that's been bothering them. Maybe a couple of days ago you did something and they've been bothered by it, but they haven't really identified it yet. But it's they're finding annoying about it, and then like a few days later it shows up in something else, like something else you do that just like blows it out of proportion. And that's how like a lot of couples fight,
the coffee cup in the sink that you just didn't put in the dishwasher turns into like World War III. Yeah,
but usually there's something deeper in there,
right,
that they're not satisfied with, that they can't really quite pinpoint what it is until they actually sit down and do the work.
So do you think like this comparison thing can be, or when you find yourself comparing to other people, would you agree that like pinpointing that feeling is one way to overcome it.
Probably. Like for me right now, I think if you right now what I'm making all this shit up, but like I think one step behind it is the judgment, right? Like I'm afraid of being judged if I'm at this age, I should be at here. I'm at this point in my career, so I should be at here, this number of followers. I should be at this much revenue. I should be living in this type of house. I should be driving this type of car, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why you compare yourself to somebody else who's doing much better than you in all those areas is because of FOMO, like fear of I should be there, but I'm not there, so I'm missing out, right? But the reason why you feel that way is because other people are, how are other people looking at me because I should be here and I'm not there, right? So the first fear is the fear of missing out. But the reason why the fear of missing out is there is because you're afraid of other people judging, what other people think of me. So everything just roots back to what other people think of me. Mm-hmm. I think it's rarely, and what Michael says is that even that, what other people think of me, even roots back to like the physical social death, right?
Or physical death or social death, yeah.
Well, I think he thinks everything roots back to physical death.
He does, but he does break it out into like like he'll say everything can go back to like physical death or social death, but he does think truly it all goes back to our fear of dying. If you keep digging.
If you dig far, like so in this example, right? I'm comparing myself to this person because I should be there, but I'm not there. So I'm missing out of that fear. But why do I have that fear of missing out? Why do I feel like I need to be there? Because other people are judging me, and other people are like, "Oh, you guys are the same age, so you should be at the same spot. How come he's doing so much better than you?" Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. So that's social death, right? Like, I'm not going to be accepted. Yeah, and it's a social death. But you go deep enough. Why does that social death matter? Because deep inside us, we are tribal, and we our DNA basically says that if you're not accepted by a tribe, you're not going to survive.
Exactly.
Right?
So you're going to die.
Subconsciously, you're going to die if you're not accepted by your tribe. And we can even feel that way. Like if people don't like us, nobody's going to hire me. If I ruin my reputation and people hate me, they're not going to hire me, and nobody's going to hire me. I'm not going to make money from it. So you can, like, even in real life scenario, you can go to physical death, right? If nobody hires me, I don't make money, then I can't put food on the table and I'm going to die.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to die. Yeah.
So fear is what drives us to do anything in every day in our life. Whatever decisions we make, whatever we do, every emotion, it all rises out of fear.
Yeah. What we do and what we don't do. Yeah. And so I think a protection, subconscious protection mechanism, and sometimes consciously, is putting yourself out there, right? Like being vulnerable, and because that is one way that innately, like, we are wired to survive. Mm-hmm. So we put on this armor to protect ourselves, and we think it's transparent, but people can see right through it. Just like you said, you could see right through Michael when he was like not being himself, and you could see through Chris Do, and you're like, you can tell.
The funny thing is, I feel like when somebody does that, somebody puts that armor, and they protect themselves from that fear by making themselves small, right? By not going on stage in public speaking, not putting out content, by not going door to door, like if you hate sales, going door to door and selling, or not doing those things. And some people, it might be as stupid as like, I don't want to go to the dentist because I'm scared of it, even though they need to. Like, it can be something, whenever you're doing something or you're not doing something out of fear, and even though that's like your comfort zone, and that's you're protecting yourself, you're making yourself, taking it easy on yourself, that's when you feel miserable. Like for me, I have a lot of fear. Like if I on Monday, boom, if I know I have back to back meetings, and I have this deadline and this deadline, and I have to do all of these today, like, and let's say I go in, I just tackle that shit like head on, boom, 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 boom. By the end of that day, I feel fucking great. But on those days when I know I have a lot to do, but like, let's say it's a weekend and I'm sitting here eating pizza and watching Netflix, and then by the end of that day, I feel miserable. Like, if I didn't, do you know what I mean? If I didn't face those fears,
that and just sounds really fun.
Even though that sounds amazing, right? That sounds like that's so easy. It's so within your comfort zone and blah, blah, blah. Especially for me as an introvert, like that sounds like paradise, right? Like, I don't have to talk to anyone today. I don't have to do anything today. But by the end of that day, I feel miserable. I feel like a total worthless garbage. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So, you know what? I think that you can do things you can not do things, like you're saying, like not put out content, not get up in front of a crowd, not do the hustling and the sales, and feel like that, because I totally can resonate with what you're saying. But you also could be doing things that aren't true to yourself and feel equally as miserable. Because I think about, when I worked I've had jobs where I'm just like feel drained at the end of the day because they're what I think I was supposed to be doing. Right. And like the thing that everyone, if they compared it, like, oh, you're so successful, you've got this job at this age, you're a rock star. But at the end, like, there's nothing fulfilling about it for me. And it like, so like I was doing things, I was doing all the right things, but it really,
I guess, I've never had that experience, but I do hear it a lot from people. Mm-hmm. So maybe kind of you can explain, because majority of the people I hear this from are lawyers, actually. Like, I've never met a corporate lawyer who likes their job.
That does sound like not a lot of fun. So what do you mean? Like, what do you want me to explain? Just how that feels?
Yeah, like that you are working hard, you're giving your best, and you're doing a good job, and you're achieving. But at the end of the day, you don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel, because like, to me, it doesn't matter what I do, right? It really doesn't matter what I do. It could be me sitting here and doing, like, I don't know if I told you that example. Like, it could be me literally at a grocery store, like, working.
You told me this.
Working as like a cashier, just boop, 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 boop. Like, it doesn't matter what it is I'm doing, I can feel fulfilled. If I'm truly, truly giving my 100%, and like, I'm really giving it my all, I can feel fulfilled. So that's why I don't really, like, I could be a lawyer, I could be whatever it is, I can have the most boring job in the world, and I think I can still be fulfilled. So I don't understand that when people say, oh, I'm this lawyer, I have corporate, I've done everything by the books, and I'm a partner in this law firm, or I'm a partner in this, like, bank, but I feel like there's something missing. I don't get that. But obviously it's a real thing because so many people have it.
I was going to say, like, you're the unicorn in this situation, because I think so many people feel that way. Yeah. I talk to people all the time, and Michael talks to me. There's tons of people in the Mask-Free program that feel that way. So for me, like, I did all the things that you're supposed to do, right? Graduate college, graduate high school, go to college, get a degree, get a real job. I was able to work my way up from a receptionist to, like, pretty much like running hospital operations at a major medical center, like academic medical center in Nashville, like, in 5 years. So like I was like 20, 26, 27 doing that. And then I got a master's degree, and like, then I went and worked for the biggest hospital corporation in the world. And I should have, I mean, I'm making like 6 figures and I'm under 30 and it's totally self-sustaining myself. And at the end of the day, like, there was nothing that I enjoyed about what I was doing. And yet I would tell everyone, and I saw this as like my job being my identity and all the letters after my name and all the,
like your dream job.
Yeah. Like, and I think the only reason that I just touted it around so pridefully was because that was what I was supposed to do. And everyone would be like, you know, amazed and
but I
impressed.
think that in the same job that you were doing, you could have been fulfilled. And the reason why I say that is, so there was a period in my life when I didn't feel fulfilled, or I didn't feel like, I felt like, you know, I felt like, yeah, like this is it, like this is fucking boring, right? And it's when I worked in corporate for 5 years, and but it wasn't because of the job. Now I clearly see it, but I didn't see it then. It's not because of what you're doing, it's because of how you're doing it. So let me explain, right? Like, when I right out of college, I started a business with my friend, and it was like shit show, right? I was working around the clock, but I was trying to make something happen, right? I was trying to do something.
What kind of business?
Same thing, making websites.
Okay. Hey, man, I don't know. You've done a lot of stuff.
But it totally ended up failing. But but I was trying to make something happen, and I was in control of it. I felt like I'm in control of my destiny and all of that, right? And then it failed, and then I had to go get a job. Okay. Now, that wasn't the job that I got. It was the next job, is when I worked in that company for 5 years. But by that time, I was like, I'm so exhausted. I can't work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can't do this. I just want to live like normal life, like everybody else. Go to work 9 to 5, come home, watch Netflix, go to dinner, and I just want that life, right? So I got that life doing that. But the reason why I didn't feel fulfilled is not because, like in that job, I was doing IT and I love doing IT. Like right now, I can feel fulfilled about coding, about, going on servers and fixing servers, whatever it is. Just doing the exact same task that I'm doing now that I was doing back then. But the reason why I didn't fulfill it is because none of those things were challenging to me. There was such a safety net. I'm going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what. I know I'm going to go home at 5 or 6 every day. I know that I can come in at this time. I know every weekend I have this time where I can relax and blah, blah, blah. My life has become such a routine, such a boring like routine. I know I can expect what to happen at any given. I know that every summer there's going to be these 2 weeks I go on vacation. I already know 2 months in advance. Yeah, it's so fucking predictable. And I feel like completely useless in this world, because I know for a fact in my mind that if I left that company, somebody else can come right in and just replace me, just like that, right? Yeah. But that's something that it's not that job that did that to me. It's not the company that did that to me. It's not that role that did that to me. I did that to myself. Because in that same company, I could have made myself uncomfortable. I could have made myself, do a lot of things that would have made me fulfilled in that company, taking risks, all of those things, right? But it's the only person that I can blame is myself for not doing that. It's not the job. It's not because, I'm a corporate lawyer, I'm an accountant, that's why I feel unfulfilled. No, you can be an accountant and still have a fulfilling life. You don't have to. Not everybody has to be Tony Robbins to be, to be fulfilled. Not everybody has to be like Oprah, right? You can be a fucking plumber fixing somebody's plumbing and still have a fulfilling life.
Yeah, like I think so too. I think I agree. Like I, I agree, but like I don't think I would have ever been I personally don't think I would have ever been fulfilled in that life that job I was in, because I mean I was giving my all. I was doing all those things. I wasn't sitting back just trying to get a paycheck. I mean, I was working my butt off and the golden child. And I still was getting all this praise and was working extra and like not asking for anything else in return. But something was missing and I didn't know what that was. And it was the fear of comparison or the fear of what people would think if I said I actually like want to go, because I mean, I quit that job to go be a personal trainer.
But that's not why you quit that job. Like, what was the thing that was missing in that job?
I don't know what was missing, but I knew I don't know what was it wasn't aligned with who I was. It was aligned with who I thought I was supposed to be and all the things I was supposed to do. And it was fear of what other people would think if I quit that job that kept me in it. Or if I quit.
It's probably the intention, maybe. Like the reason why you did that job was because that job is going to bring me these things, like whether it's respect in the community or whether it's like all these credentials or whatever these things are. Like that's what's driving all of this hard work, right? Like maybe that's how lawyers feels too, right? That partnership, that corner office, that $4 million mansion, like that's what's driving them to do this, not the actual thing. Versus if you're a lawyer and that's not what, those things are not driving you, but like actually like taking this case for this tax fraud or whatever it is and solving this in a way that it's never been done before, or like working at a bank and like trying to do this investment and actually coming up with an algorithm or coming up with something that'll get X return on this investment that in a way that it's never been done before. And you're not actually looking at the corner office. You're not looking at the partnership. Mm-hmm. None of those are in your mind. This is what's driving you. Then I think, and I don't think it's that person can't do that. Like for you, I think you could have easily done that if you actually tried. That lawyer who hates being a lawyer, if they actually put their attention, stop putting their attention on that and put their attention on what's in front of them, the case, then I think they actually can do it, right?
Yeah.
If this finance person actually put their attention on the actual numbers and things like that rather than the paycheck, I think they actually can do it. It's just that so few of us actually do that because they went in with that in mind. Mm-hmm. And they worked for 10 years chasing that. Mm-hmm. And now they can't get themselves to like focus on this.
Yeah. But I see what you're saying. And I don't know if this just adds to it.
I don't know, but so many people say it, so maybe I'm wrong, right? Like I'm the only person that don't.
No, I don't think you're that. I mean, I don't think you're the only one. I think that I like what you said, and I can totally agree with what you said. Like some of my intentions around, like for me personally, like that job was not the paycheck. I've never been driven by money. I'm not someone that's driven by a paycheck every day, but I was definitely driven by what people think about me and getting respect. And and so that's why I worked hard and that's why I put in all the extra effort. But here's the thing. People did think really highly of me. Most people anyway. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, no, you're a total asshole. I don't fucking like you. So thank you for listening to this podcast.
I'm sure that never happened.
I'm sure it has. But anyway, like I checked all those boxes, and yet they weren't. And and I'm still proud of what I was able to accomplish. And maybe it's just a thing, like as you evolve as a person too, how your interests change, how your situation may change. Like, for instance, and I think this is a big part of it, like financially. I mean, once I got married to Michael, or I knew that we were going to get married, and I wasn't just a single income, I was now going to be a dual income. It was way easier for me to quit my job and go do something I'm passionate about, which was personal training. I have a lot of friends who aren't married and who are in these miserable jobs because they're as a means of survival, right? Like, so they don't like waking up necessarily and going to their job every day, but they kind of feel like they have to. They're pigeonholed in it, and like, or maybe they have a family and they need the dual income.
That's what I mean. Like, the advice, I hope I can get to a point where I can, give advices like these, right? But like the advice I would give to those people, because there's so many of them, like, I wouldn't give the advice that Gary Vee is giving. Like, I wouldn't give advice that all of these thought leaders or whatever that says, quit your job, quit your 9-to-5 and follow your passion and do what you love. Like, I would not give that advice, because those people will never find passion. Those people will, if you can't find passion in what you're doing right now in front of you, you're not going to find passion in anything else. Do you know what I mean? Because that's not how passion works. Are you telling me that if you were born 100 years ago and there was no such thing as fitness training, or there was no such thing as like, wedding event planning, or there's no such thing as podcasting, that you're not going to be a passionate person? No. Like, the passion is inside you, right? You can either be passionate or you cannot be passionate. It's not like, oh, I'm passionate about this, but not passionate about this, right? If you're not passionate about this, you're not going to be passionate about this. Like, that's how I see it. It's so simple. You know what I mean?
I see. I definitely see what you're saying.
But because I'm saying it, nobody's going to listen to me, right? Because I'm not Oprah.
But I agree. I agree. I think, it's something I really haven't spent a lot of time thinking about, because I do definitely agree with the thing that you said about Gary Vee, like, just quit and do whatever you're passionate about. Like, that.
Steve Jobs kind of started it, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, if you follow your passion, or you never have to work a day in your life, like, fuck you. Like, go say that to somebody who lives in North Korea, right? Like,
yeah. But you know what though? I think it's okay to not, and maybe I'm wrong when I say this. I'm probably wrong about a lot of things.
I probably am too. Who cares?
Sorry, 100 subscribers.
We're going to go down to like 10.
First your bubble. But we're wrong about everything. The Wrong As Fuck podcast. Welcome.
WAF podcast.
WAF.
Change the name.
Yeah. So I think it's okay to not like your job and have to do it every day, because you have to survive and do what you have to do. And like, do something else. Like, I think the part I disagree with is like, you don't have to find passion in whatever you're fucking, like, your job. If you work at a grocery store and you don't like fucking working at a grocery store and it sucks, but you get a paycheck and it means that you get to like go get the Travis Scott meal at McDonald's.
It's okay. It's fine. Yeah. I love Travis Scott meal.
You do? Did you try it?
No, but it's like the best marketing that McDonald's ever does.
Okay. Side note, yes, McDonald's, but they got rid of it. So it was only
really?
a limited time. And now they're doing like Jay Balvin or so. I don't even know who that guy is because I'm over 30 and I don't keep up with the latest on Spotify. But I will tell you, McDonald's, yes, best marketing you ever did, because I haven't been to McDonald's and I can't even remember how long, but I got 3 Travis Scott meals because they were awesome. And it's literally just a quarter pounder with bacon and shredded lettuce. Yeah. I could get that right now. But I just had to go
but
get it.
It was like a different price, right? It was like cheaper or something.
It was $6.99 only if you use the app.
Okay.
You had to use the app. Yeah. Hey, I mean, I know a little too much about.
I know. Is this sponsored by McDonald's?
Side note about me, I follow fast food, like the latest fast food and junk food blogs. There are 2 that I follow religiously because I don't allow myself really to eat all that stuff, but I love to read about it. I love to know what the latest thing
food
is.
Porn. Yeah.
Yes. I'll get so excited when they're like, so they obviously they wrote about the Travis Scott meal and I was like, oh, that A, this is brilliant, McDonald's. B, this looks delicious. C, when can I get one? Like, so, man, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, that you don't have to be.
Not everybody has to change the world.
Yeah, not everybody has to change the world, and you don't have to be passionate about your job. And if you just want to show up to your job and do your thing, cool. However,
I do think that.
But I would encourage people to like find what they do like. And I know that you have like strong opinions about the passion thing, but it's like there is something that, and it's like passion is such an overused fucking word, just like authenticity.
Authenticity is the new passion.
Oh yeah, like give me a fucking break. Like, but you can find there is something inside you that you may not think that everyone else is going to like. And yes, you're not going to change. Sorry, there's only one Oprah in the world. That spot's taken. There's only one Gary Vee. You're not going to.
But what I'm saying is everybody. This. I know what you mean, but what I'm saying is this, right? The only way you can get to that job, like Oprah, right? Like basically creating your own title, right? Because or Tony Robbins, right? Who would have thought that there could even be a job like that, right? Like when he first started doing that, there was no such thing. What he's doing right now is like a job that he invented. It didn't exist before.
A life coach. Yeah, that didn't exist.
Or like what Oprah's doing right now is almost like a job that she invented, right? And so, or what Gary Vee's doing right now is also like something that he's invented. But you only get there by just being passionate about what you're doing right now. That's what's going to lead you to there. Oprah started out as a news anchor. It wasn't like, but most people that starts out as a news anchor, like that wants to make something big, like some news anchor that's getting paid $20,000 a year, like in some small local network, like that person is going into that job like, fuck, I hate everything about this job. Okay. I'm doing the bare minimum and blah, blah, blah. No, but you just fucking do the best in that job. Okay. And that's what's going to lead you to becoming Oprah.
All right. I'm with you now. I see. Yes. So here's where it clarified for me. Like I've been doing this with my goggles as you've been talking. So I had to just like adjust. So I see what you're saying. It's coming into focus. Here's where you have to just do what's in front of you and take the necessary steps to get there. And you're not going to be like, I don't want to burst everyone's bubble again, but Oprah's taken, Gary Vee's taken, Amy Porterfield's taken, Tony Robbins is taken. All these things are taken. Getting in the NBA is hard. And they are like the all-stars of the NBA. So the chances of you being the next Oprah are really low. Been there, done that. I thought Michael was the next Oprah. Probably not going to happen, but he is changing lives for like 10 people. I'm just kidding, like for more than that. No,
well, he's never going to be the next Oprah, but he's going to be the first Michael.
He is the first Michael. Yeah. And that's awesome. And then once he was able to just like, once we released and surrendered the whole, and I say that word a lot, it's, you know, it's a principle that's very pertinent in like our life as a family. But once you stop gripping to this idea of what you think you should be doing and or what you think everyone thinks you should be doing, and you just do what you focus on, what you can control, which is how hard you're working at what you're doing right now. I see what you're saying. So like
that opportunity comes, right? Like
it'll come
because
the
Oprah
path gets clear.
Because she gave 100% to reading the news. That opened up an opportunity for a Black woman in those times to become the first anchor. Like at first she started as just reading the news, right? Reporter, right? And then that gave her the first Black woman to be an anchor, and she just gave it 100% in that job. And that gave her the opportunity to start her own show. And she just 100% brought herself and gave it 100%. And they gave her, and these are the series of things that happened for Oprah to be Oprah right now, right?
But you know what? There could have been times in her career that she wasn't happy, right? But she kept giving 100% and she was doing her thing. Like I'm sure she's been unhappy. And here's what just came into focus for
me. And I'm sure even today, there are probably things in her job that she doesn't like doing, but she's doing it anyway.
Yeah. And here's what came into focus for me is that I did, because what I think what was like, with what you said as we were talking, and I was kind of explaining like my experience, and like, I was like, but wait, dude, I was giving 100%. I was doing all the things. So don't take that away from me. It's kind of the feeling I had. It was like, no, man, I was fucking giving 100%, but I wasn't happy. But here's what happened. It led to me being able to quit my job and go work with like, it led to you
meeting Michael.
And it led to me meeting Michael. It led to me quitting my job and doing something I was really, really, really excited to do, which after a year and a half, I got like not excited to do anymore. And then it led me to be a mother, which has been, and working with my husband and building this personal brand and doing something that I'm really excited to get up to do every day.
So you've already, you followed that journey.
So so when you said that, like when you did use the Oprah example, and I hope this clicked for other people, is that it's not, when Oprah walked into that job as a news anchor or reporter, it was never in her wildest dreams, I would think, that she would be where she is right now. Nor was it for me. And I'm sure for you, your path, you had no idea that you would end up working for some of the biggest names in personal brands. But this single thread that I see here is that you just walk in and do your best. Like it's all, I know you're like, duh, that's what I've been fucking saying. You're just repeating what I'm saying, Elizabeth. Yeah. But it just, I don't know why it just clicked for me, but that example with Oprah, like for some reason, it just like totally clarified it. Was the path. I think we have in our minds what the path is supposed to be. And if you can just like back off of that, like back off of what you
don't worry about 10 years from now, next year. Don't worry about 6 months from now.
Yeah. And it's
COVID
okay
might kill us all.
Yeah. 6
months from now, who knows? Don't worry about that. Yeah.
And it's okay to have goals, right? It's okay to say like, this is what I'm going to do next, or this is what I want to do, or I want to,
have
goals.
Thing that you're doing right now, right? So for example, if you're a web designer and you're making websites, like have your goal to be that this project that I'm working on right now, I'm gonna make it like the best websites ever been made, and I'm gonna win these awards with that website. And then see what, like, if you actually do that, see what that's gonna lead you to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, and it's okay to want to be the next Gary Vee. Like, I'm not saying that
No,
you
it's not.
can't
Be the first you.
be the first you. It's
Well,
okay
but
to
that's
be
what I mean, right? Like,
inspired. Be inspired by these people and be
yeah,
inspired by their success and be inspired to see of what is possible when you are the first you. Because look at
no,
what
you
they've been able to they've trailblazed the way.
exactly. Be inspired by what they've done. That be inspired by the success, but not like exactly how they did it, right? Ignore that part, but just be inspired by the fact that that's possible,
That's possible,
and that you can also do it too.
Yes,
but don't compare don't compare yourself right now to Oprah right now, right? Because compare yourself to Oprah in her news days, right? Like that she's just giving it all, right? And you just give whatever's in front of you all.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's the difference that we started out with. Difference between inspire versus comparing.
Yes, because like their path, like if you just look at like if you said I want to be the next Oprah and you took her path exactly, that's not going to fucking work.
Yeah. It's not.
Because it's just like you can't take a piece of like Amy Porterfield's email funnel and expect it to work.
Yeah. Like I can be inspired by Kobe Bryant, how hard he worked to get to where he got.
Yeah.
That's inspiration. Comparing it is like me trying to become a basketball player. Like, no, like I can be inspired by this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I get inspired by, there are some Instagram accounts where I see like, wow, this is fucking amazing. Like how can this person create these type of content that I can never imagine of? Or like that mom one that I showed you the other day, right? I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
But that's me being inspired by it. That doesn't mean I'm going to start drawing illustrations of like something, like, because, I mean, I still have to do what I do, but do me as best as I can, just like she did her as best as she can. And that's inspiring, not comparing.
Yep. Yeah, dude, man, we rock. I mean, we are cool people.
We rock.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like I had like I hope the 100 people that listen, like there was a lot of clarity for me in what you've said, because sometimes I've like kind of disagreed with what you're saying. And I think that's because it's that stupid word, passion. I hate that word. I don't know why I hate that word so much.
I'll say this, right? Okinawa is like a small island in Japan. So Okinawa is an island where they say have more people that are over 100 years old than anywhere else, right? Yeah. And people there are like the healthiest and they're like the happiest. So like there's this documentary or some video I watch where they go and interview all these grandmas in Okinawa. And people there, all they do is they wake up early, they go work in their farm, they come home, they eat dinner with their family, and then they drink sake and they go to bed. Like that's what they do every day. They're fucking happy as hell. Do you understand what I mean? So that's what I mean. Like you can try to be, you can say, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a partner in this company, I'm miserable as hell. But if I become like, if all of a sudden I become this like florist and I start arranging flowers, that I'm going to be passionate. No, like look at those grandmas that are fucking farmers in Okinawa. You'll never be as happy as them because they have that passion and happiness inside them. Like, so they asked that grandma, that 105-year-old grandma, what's the secret to happiness? And she said, wake up early, work hard, and drink sake at night. That's what she said, right? And I so believe that.
That's really like, there's something beautiful about that. And like, because gosh, we have like the grass is greener mentality. I am like number one. I can say that because I do that. Like this house that we're moving to, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be so much better. It's so much smaller. It's so much.
You found one already?
Easier. Yeah, we moved. Well, we're still in the middle.
You're moving
like,
out of the city. You're going into like
more of the suburbs. Yeah, but
So
Hopefully, if everything goes well.
Because you're getting out of the city?
No, we're getting
It doesn't work like that in Nashville.
You know what? It doesn't, because we're not going to like the country. We could have. We looked at some places like that had like 5 acres, and we actually have like a pretty big lot where we are, but it's like completely unusable because it's on a hill. Mm-hmm. So we have like 2 acres where we are. We're going to like less than an acre, but it's got a flat yard.
Oh, poor you.
I know.
Less than an acre.
Okay,
like I have like 1,000 square foot apartment here.
I know. I'm like, I'm moving to a 5,000 square foot house. Like, I know, but hey, you guys choose to live in like New York City.
Yeah,
but like, it's your fault, man. If you had some passion, you'd move out of there. I'm kidding. But like, because it's this grass is greener thing. I'm like, oh, it's a smaller house. It'll be easier to upkeep. There's not going to be anything wrong with it, right? It's a smaller yard, or like I have a flat yard. Everything's going to be perfect. And no, it isn't. Because even like when I went from corporate America to like personal training, the grass is greener for a little while. And then you're like, oh, well, there's things that suck about this too. So your point about like, just make the best of what's in front of you right now.
That's true. Yeah.
Focus on what you can control, because if you are focused on all the things you can't control, number one being what other people think, that worry in and of itself, I feel like can make you miserable. That energy, like constantly worried about what other people think, is so deflating and like, just like you just feel like,
and it's such a superpower for you, for somebody to. I mean, I'm sure everyone cares about what other people think of them, but it's to a different degree, right?
Yes.
Like I would say, I'm probably lower in that kind of sensitivity. Like I care, I think, less about what other people think than most people. But same thing, right? When we closed down our office, and I was telling Michael, like, oh, like is everyone gonna think that I'm a failure because like now, I have less employees. I had to fire some people. I had to close down our office, and like we had this beautiful loft office in Soho and all of that, right? But yeah, that hurts my pride, ego a little bit. It hurts like, oh, what are people gonna think of me? But if you don't have that, that's literally a superpower, because like doing that, I should have closed that office a long time ago. Because doing that literally like was one of the best moves I could have made in my business.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I mean, if you can just somehow not care about what people think, just imagine how much happier you would be, how much more you can actually achieve, right? What are those things that you're wasting money on, that you're only doing it because you care about what other people think of you, that you could be,
Yeah, dude, I agree. The only thing I would say is like, it's okay to care about what other people think. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to have that feeling. I think it's what you do. Like what you said, you were able to say like, I do care about what other people, you were able to like vocalize it, see it, the awareness, like we talked about. And then once you're able to validate that feeling, validate that emotion, because like you said, it is a superpower. If you don't have it, I don't think you're a human. Like you don't think you're a human. You're a Martian and we're in trouble, and you may be the person that brought COVID. Like, so
the superpower is controlling it.
Is like identify it. And then you're able to do, I mean, it sounds like I like work for Michael Brody-Waite or something. Then you're able to do like the uncomfortable work, which for you was to, in that instance, was to have some difficult conversations with your employees, your landlord, I'm sure your wife and yourself, and like just walk through it. It's the same thing like you were talking about, like, even though it's much smaller, like the post that you were like, I could do this post and it's only gonna give me 10 followers, but I know it's something I want to do and I'm going to put in the effort and do it anyway. That's still uncomfortable work. It gets easier, and then it becomes muscle memory, and then you're just doing it. like, and so it's the awareness of that feeling, like I was talking about, just the awareness. And sometimes it's really big, like when you're trying to downsize your office, and sometimes it's really small, like when you're trying to figure out what to post. Yeah. But if you can be aware, there is just freedom in the awareness, even if you fail at doing the uncomfortable
Actually, you're
work.
right. Because if you're trying to get to a point where you just don't care at all, that means you've given up. Like that's when you go down, down. You don't want to get to a point where you're like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you don't want to get there either, because then you're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
You're literally going to sit home in your couch all day and just, take bong hits and watch Netflix all day. Like, don't do that.
Yeah. That's a bad place to be. That's not good. Take it from the drug addict that wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
You'll be puking up blood. So let's not do it, man.
So I think you can still care and control it, so that you find that balance somewhere in the middle. Yes,
because that feeling is valid. That feeling is like a thing, and that's okay. And we're allowed to be human beings. It's all about what you do. When what's incredible and the freedom you will start to feel is when you can notice that thing, that feeling in yourself. And once you notice it, you can do something about it. And that's when you're going to start to really.
It's probably the same with addiction too, right? Like when I wouldn't say I was addicted, but I used to smoke weed every single day. And like every day I come home from work, this is when I was working a 9-to-5 job, like I would smoke weed and I fall into this routine, like smoke weed, play Xbox, eat dinner, play some more Xbox, fall asleep, next day, like wake up late and run to work and then come home and do it again. And I felt like I was going in this downward spiral, right? And every day I was like, all right, tomorrow, like this week I'm not going to smoke weed, or tomorrow I'm not going to smoke weed, or whatever it is, right? And then I go into the morning like, okay, I'm not going to smoke weed, blah, 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 blah. And then as soon as like 4:30 comes and it's almost 5 o'clock, it just hits that urge to want to smoke. Oh, I can't wait to go home and smoke weed. Comes like, it just hits me, right? Like, and it's, you just have to be aware of that. And at that time I was just giving it. I wasn't aware of that's what was happening. And I just, without any kind of thought, I just let my body just, give in, right?
Yeah.
And
versus the like awareness and then the pause and
and then it's like, oh shit, this is hitting me right now. Like, why? I didn't care about weed all day, and all of a sudden, like, I look at the clock and it's almost time to go home, and immediately in my head, like, oh, I'm gonna go home, take a hit, and then watch Netflix or play Xbox, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, because it's easy to get on autopilot and just let those things just be on autopilot. Like you said, you're in your routine, you did your thing. And so the other thing is like, you can't expect yourself to not fail. And there's a lot of perfectionists out there, I'm sure, that will find like
all or nothing. Like
it's all or nothing. Like that's not how it fucking works. Like you're gonna fail, okay? Like you're gonna be like, oh shit, I ignored that feeling. I didn't see it, but there's such learning and growth, and probably your biggest growth will happen when you don't do it, but you're aware of it. And you look back. So, or at least that's what's happened for me, and still does.
It's like when you, if you're trying to like refrain yourself from like overeating, right? Like eating that first potato chip and like not finishing the whole bag, right? Like some people might be like, oh, like I'm never going to eat potato chips again. And as soon as you eat like one, it's like, oh, it's too late now. I might as well eat the whole bag, right?
Yeah.
but that's what I mean. Like, don't be a perfectionist like that. You can eat like 5 chips and still be aware of that and put it away. It's okay. Don't judge yourself for that.
Yeah. Learn from it. Don't judge yourself. Learn. Because
don't judge yourself. Learn. Elizabeth Brody-Waite.
You're welcome.
That used to be on the quote. Like,
don't judge yourself. Learn. Man, I got a thing or two. See, Michael, you better watch out, brother. I'm coming for you.
So when are you guys? You guys already found the house? Are you guys?
We did. So we're in the middle of like the inspection process, and there's a few things to wrap up. I really love the house. I love where it is. So if all goes well, we'll be moving before Thanksgiving, which would be cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty quick. That's like a month and a half away.
Mm-hmm. We just like to keep people on their toes around here. When I told my mom that we were like trying to sell our house like a week before I gave birth to WBW over here, she was like, well, nothing surprising about that. You guys like to do everything. And we were like going through all the things that have happened this year. It's like book release, trying to sell a house, buying a house. There were a bunch of other things.
Having a baby.
We had a baby. We had a baby.
Starting a podcast.
Our other baby turned 1. Start a podcast. Start a program and a following for Michael. Like,
Never a dull moment in the Brody-Waite household.
Yeah. No, that's apparently how
we'll come, TJ and I will have to come visit you after you move.
We want you to visit now. I mean,
know. We should visit you before you move.
Yeah.
And then after too.
Yeah, because we're still trying to sell this house. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So we haven't sold this house yet. So also, anyone interested in a house in Nashville, ours is for sale.
Maybe you'll get one. Maybe somebody will be like.
There you go.
I heard about your house on your podcast.
Yeah. That's a little creepy. I don't need any stalkers. Just kidding. But yeah, what's our lesson, son?
Our lesson is that
we got a couple, I think.
This was actually one of our best episodes. Get inspired. Be inspired, but don't compare.
Yeah. So get inspired, don't compare. And the other is don't judge. Learn.
Don't judge, learn. Yeah.
Yeah. One's external. Here we go. One's external and one's internal. Yeah. So get inspired by others. Don't compare yourself. That's the external. Internally, don't judge yourself.
But we talked about so many different things that like comparing to the fear of missing out, to fear of judgment, what other people think of you, and then the passion. Oof.
Yeah. Man, this was a good one.
Value packed. Yeah.
Woo! Fire, like flames. Can you put some flames around us? Like
I have to put the bomb, like value bomb. Like that's the word they use. Dropping value bombs.
Value bomb. Boom. This is where I want a soundboard where I can like do the sound effects, like value bomb.
Yeah, let's get one.
I have one on this like Rodecaster Pro thing. It's got like little buttons.
You got to figure it out. So you got to do like our intro and then like the applause, like, hey.
You did it. That's what Amaret's new thing is. I did it. And she like claps for herself.
Also, before we wrap up, everyone, please subscribe on our YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. And on wherever you're listening to the podcast, Apple, whatever, please leave us a review so we can start getting ranked. I want to start promoting our podcast.
Click the little red bell on YouTube.
Like, subscribe, all of that.
Whatever you need to do, whatever you use, whatever platform it is, however you get notified. If you could just...
we have 100 subscribers now. So.
Hey, you know what? The other thing is share this with somebody. If there was something today that you think someone in your life could value from, share it with them. Just send it to one person. And
or two,
but one would be great. And then let us know.
Don't judge yourself if you only send it to one.
Yeah. Don't judge. Just learn. You're supposed to share with two next time. Now go start comparing yourself to the number of people you shared it with. Man. Okay. But seriously, I think there are people that could like.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'll cut up like pieces of the value bombs and I'll upload it as separate videos. So those are easier to share. And people don't want to watch like a 90-minute long video that somebody sends them.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's 5 times longer than what a TED Talk is supposed to be. Listen to this quick 90-minute TED Talk. Short listen. All right. But yeah. And then this week, son, ask them, are you going to have people ask questions?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot again, but this week I'll definitely will. Mm-hmm. I'll remember. Okay. I'll set a reminder.
Yeah. Because I'm curious.
Calendar.
Especially, I'll be curious what people think after this. This was a good episode.
Yeah.
So. All right, dude. Little one's waking up. I'm going to get him.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks, man. You too.
Good luck with them. You're not moving anytime soon, so.
Yeah, but we're trying to
Michael,
pack. I will.
Emirat.
I will.
Say hi to Wolfie.
Okay.
And your dogs.
Wolfie's trying to say, I will. Thank you, son. Say hi to Gigi.
Bye. Bye.